if we can all hear me, you can react. You can just give a reaction. I can only see one reaction. Please let's confirm if we can hear me. All right, so without much ado, we are going to start the meeting. So I believe, just like I said earlier, we have our expectation holding, and we are ready with our writing materials to learn to today's session. So, and we have our guest speaker ready to take us through the subject matter today about how we can build our own winning personal brand. I believe that all of us here today, we are in one way or the other having businesses, career, and all of that to build. And that is why it is very important to pay attention to all of the things that we are going to be learning today. So before we start, I'd like to introduce our guest speaker for today's webinar, Mr. Olabode Oduwole, who is going to be taking us through the subject matter, building your own personal brand. He's going to be sharing with us strategies we need to know about how we can build our own personal brand today. Mr. Olabode Oduwole is a seasoned digital marketer and a brand strategist. He's a co-founder of XEO Gidi, and over 8 years of experience, he has helped tech startups and businesses build stronger online visibilities and scale revenue and achieve sustainable business growth. As a digital marketing specialist, he is highly proficient in tools such as Hotspots, Google Analytics, Meta Ads, LinkedIn Ads, Search Console, and other leading digital marketing platforms, ensuring that every of his campaign that he executes is data-driven and optimized for success. As a brand strategist, Mr. Olabode has delivered measurable impact across all industry, such as MarTech, FinTech, EdTech, e-commerce, logistics, and Web3. He has worked with top brands such as Google Nigeria, Spotify, Metal, Gumic Nigeria, crafting and executing high-performing marketing strategies that drive real business growth, showing that is well worth listening to on subject matter today. Beyond his corporate experience, he currently owns and runs his fast-growing brand, Everything Corporate, where he continues to demonstrate his expertise and innovative idea about building brand. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Olabode impressive track record reflects his remarkable work ethic and his commitment to excellence in business. Please join me in welcome today our brand strategist who is going to be taking us into this subject matter, Mr. Oduwole Olabode. Please let's just give a reaction as it takes us through the subject.
All right, thank you very much. That was a long introduction. So confirm you can actually hear me. I want to believe you can. So very quickly, I won't have to do any introduction. That was a very long one. So Olabode Oduwole, a digital marketing specialist, and particularly I have my niche around the search engine optimization. That's the SEO. And so just to get down in the business of the day and majorly to talk about, building brands. That's actually, I can say it's really a debatable topic in today's balance, and that's given to the different needs, especially, and I actually love to address even those that are engaged in the regular, what we call the 9 to 5 jobs, and questions around how can one build a brand and how can one sustain it, and how can I also leverage on free tools or available tools to just ensure that my brand is growing and to see to it that my brand grows. So this is to start with is to ask what branding is all about. And branding it goes beyond, because when some get to hear about branding, the first thing that comes to their mind is, talking about the company logo, we're talking about the color of the brand. But branding goes much more beyond that. Branding is actually the perception that people have of your business, of your products, or your service, of what you do, which means that the first impression that people have concerning all that you have to offer is exactly what your branding is all about. So, which means the moment you begin to talk about, branding is just, take for example, if anyone hears the name Dangote today, immediately the mind goes to, oh, are you talking about the sugar? Are you talking about the cement? Are you talking about the spag or other things? That's already it. The name has become a household name, and that's to show that there's a whole lot that is. So it gives perception, and that's exactly what the brand is all about. So branding covers exactly what the product or the service or the business is all about. And so the moment one hears about branding, the first thing that should come to mind should not just be, oh, logo. Of course, I mean logo is part of it. The colors are part of it. All of which are just to come up with what we call a strong, I mean, brand and branding of the company and of course the startup. And I can say, based on my years of experience with startups, of course, I think I've had to work much more with startups than any other company in recent time. And I can say that for for everyone that is making that decision to venture into business or to start a brand or develop a product or a service and is seeking to actually see it grow, one can actually not lose sight of branding itself. And statistics has it that branding in recent years and the past years contribute to over 23% of an entire company's revenue, which means that what people get to sell over time will be the brand itself. So whilst others have what we call the viable products that should thrive well and should do well in the society and of course towards the target audience, whilst others might have that, there is actually what others have, and it's based on the fact that their brand has, or let me say, they've been so branded and they've been well branded, and their services and their products are very easy to sell, and hence it is also easy to scale such products or service. And so at this point, I would just like to share something very. Host, can you permit me to share in this meeting? I can see that. So are you there? I actually want to see if it's possible to share. Host, are you there? Sorry, please. I'm just trying to see. Okay. Yes, I think I can now. Okay. Right, so I just want to
You
share.
can share now. You can share now. I was just trying to
Okay.
look do
Okay.
it from here.
Okay. Okay. I think. I can now. All right, so permit me
ship
to.
make? How did you come up with the name?
Now, very quickly, this is actually this is a brand owner and a startup founder who has actually gone to, of course, the Dragon's Den to just speech, and something very vital and something, of course, quite costly actually happened, and I just want us to follow through with this. I hope.
How did you come up with the name ship make?
Sorry, please. Can you confirm you can hear the audio of the sound of the video? Sorry.
Yes, I can
Okay.
hear from here.
All right. So let me.
How did you come up with the name ship make?
Actually, sir, the name. Okay. Actually, sir, looking at it now, I can see from this roll of banner that there's a misspell there. It's actually Stephmic for my name, Stephen and Michael. It's actually Stephmic. Stephmic Global Enterprise.
Step make.
Yes, it's Stephmic.
Step make.
Yes, sir.
And then enterprise.
Yes, sir.
For somebody who is giving out money at a very high price, is that the spelling of enterprise?
No, sir.
See, when you want to present yourself, you have to present yourself in a manner that would be appealing. Before you go into any business, you need to know what that business is all about. So essentially, what we have here is a ship make that is on its way to becoming a shipwreck. And so, for that reason,
All right. So I mean, very, very importantly, he actually made. That's the founder now. He made, I mean, a very grave mistake. Of course, like I said, branding is actually what people see and what they perceive of your brand the first time they come in contact with you. Now this is someone that has gone to pitch, and whilst he's more focused on what he's selling to them, yes, he had his roll-up banner somewhere that had something very different from what he represents, because branding is actually to again define what the product or the brand is fully and all about. So yeah, he actually made that mistake, and of course it was not just a disappointment, because I think it ended up in mockery, because he got mocked at the end of the day. But the question one would ask is, how could he have made such a big mistake? I mean, you didn't see the name. The brand name should be so obvious that, I mean, if a designer is done with his design, he should send you, I mean, basic things to just, and all of that, I mean, of course, found in branding as well. And those are things that should just show that, I mean, that just shows that one should pay attention to every detail when it comes to branding. So I said, I mean, I actually started by saying how that when it comes to branding, it's not just about the name. I mean, it's not just about the logo. It's not just about the product or the service itself. Rather, it has to do with everything. So it's not one aspect leaving the other. It's everything working together. And I mean, just saw one that actually lost an opportunity of pitching and, of course, having a lot of contribution, to his brand, then lost out on the opportunity. Another thing when it comes to branding is what we call the brand name. Oftentimes, I mean, I actually, being an SEO specialist, that's the search engine optimization. Very quickly, maybe I should just talk about what search engine optimization is, because for every brand and every startup, they should be much more focused on what the search engine optimization is all about. So for search engine optimization, it's actually, when people go on search engines, take Google for example, and they get to search online, the first thing they get to see is actually what we call the search engine results. So search engine optimization actually has to do with optimizing pages so that there will be better results, so that you rank first when the results are out, which means that when you go on search engine results pages, that will be your Google first page. The first result you get to see when you search for any content, any product, any service, or any query that you actually have to input into the search engine, the first results that you see, they are search engine optimized posts, and that's actually what I do. And so which means that there are a lot of products that have been, that are out already by Nigerians. Many products, many startups have built products, they've built a lot of services and very nice products, very great products, but they are lacking what we call the visibility. And I think that would be the second aspect of this webinar, where we just talk about, look into a bit of marketing to just look at, okay, how do I push myself out there? And so when it comes to startups, what startups actually need to know, so some in a bid to just ensure that they are seen there, you see them pick names that are highly competitive. Imagine someone that wants to choose a name, for example, and the person begins to, or maybe let me give an example. Someone trying to start a brand, then in his brand name, he goes for something like, let's say, maybe something close to, let's say, Facebook. Now, number one, Facebook is already a brand name, is already what we can call household name. Maybe Facebook might be too far anyway. Let me just stay with something closer. Maybe the person uses something like maybe let's say Grace Event Center. Now, I've not heard of any Grace Event Center, but it's not unlikely that if I go online now and I search for Grace Event Center within Lagos alone, I will see nothing less than 3 different event centers with that name, Grace Event Center, which means that the person has ventured into that market space. And the first thing the person is struggling to even have, we are not yet talking about making the products known, the person is struggling to have a brand name itself, which means the person is struggling to just have his brand name, show up in search engines. It's just like saying, oh, what's your name? Oh, my name is, of course, I get to do that a lot, and that's why some have had to tweak their name many times when they are searched for online. If I search for my name online now, Olabode Oduwole, I can say that the first pages of Google have nothing to do with any other person but my profile. Even for someone that bears that name, from Facebook to other social media platforms, I've ensured that somehow and a way or the other, I've flooded different platforms with my name, maintaining same name, not using Olabode Oduwole somewhere and using Bode Oduwole somewhere. And that's what brand is all about, and branding is all about, where you are consistent with the name as well, which means that across all platforms, first thing with the name is you actually use a name that you don't need to fight to own. And that's why the very basics of branding, which I can call branding 101, is that if you cannot own the name, then don't adopt it. Which means any name you cannot own when it comes to branding, don't just branch that way. No matter how punchy the name seem. Maybe take for example the name, will probably is sounding very, very nice, very beautiful, such that it even matches what we call keywords. Keywords simply mean what people get to search and the searchers' behavior online when they go to search. For example, when people go to new places and they want to probably get eateries around them, you see them search online, oh, restaurants around me. That's actually, the restaurants around me, that's actually, they have what we call, those are keywords, which means that many restaurants, we have to optimize for those keywords so that they will be found first when people come around their restaurant location and they search for that common phrase, or the common keywords, restaurants around me. So for example, you are into sales of wares like I am as well, and you want to optimize, and you actually want to start with, let me give an example. You sell clothes and you want to optimize for your particular location such that when people search around for the best suit sellers around, or where to get cheapest suits, or where to get cheapest male wears, now that's what you're optimizing for. So in that case, if you already have a brand name that is suggestive and also that is not consistent and is highly competitive, people might eventually find that name, but it's not really your own name. And so when people, and of course because that person even has higher dominance, because the person got into the business before you, the person has, higher dominance, the person has more reviews, the person has more, more relevance than that brand. It shows that eventually over time that brand will just remain in Google's search engine, in Google, it will just be stored in Google search engine, and it's not necessarily displayed to the target audience and those that are likely meant to see the brand and the products. And so when it comes to branding, the name actually needs to be very, very standard. The name needs to stand out. The name actually carries almost every aspect of the brand itself. Also, and understanding what branding means. I just spoke about that, and of course the name, first of all, and one of the things I also like to say when it comes to branding is the fact that when it comes to your brand, don't always think that me starting a brand means that I'm starting what someone has not done before. Well, I can say 90% or 95% of the time, not necessarily. Is more, is you can say that, oh, I've not really seen anyone that has really done this before, or maybe there's not a known person that has done this. But to say that there's nobody that has ventured into this or something similar to this will actually be, of course, I leave the rest of the 5 remaining percent for the, where I stand to be corrected anyway, for the other side of it, where people actually start afresh and people have new ideas, but as it is with every platform, we have many platforms that have been before the known platforms of today, many brands that have been before the known brands of today. And so which means that if I'm going to stand out and I'm going to stand unique, the uniqueness is not based on my product. The uniqueness will be based on my execution. And that's where branding comes in. My branding also gives me that opportunity to stand out. And that's where we get to talk about, of course, the brand colors, where one needs to, and that's where people actually make a mistake when they just tell, when you hear people say things like, oh, what's your brand color? My brand color is blue. Then you ask them, what's the color code? What is the shade of, or what shade of blue exactly are you talking about? And they are lost because they think every blue is blue. And you agree with me that we have turquoise blue, we have sky blue, we have, different kinds of blues. In fact, in the sky blue, we have light sky, we have sky that is not looking like sky, it's looking like the powdered blue. And so, which means that when it comes to the color of the brand itself, of course, having, employed the expertise of maybe a designer, you are now able to ask him, oh, this particular color we are using, what's the color code? And that is to ensure consistency. For example, when we hear a bank with the orange color in Nigeria, when you just hear any bank with the orange, or you see a bank, it's a bank, then you hear about the orange color. Only one bank comes to mind, and that's the GT Bank, because the orange color is just, in fact, the moment you don't see the name, but you see a box, that's a square now, a square with orange color, then a smaller square towards the down left corner of the box, that's GT, without necessarily writing anything, because and that's why even when they give out souvenirs, they are able to maintain that same color consistency. So which means that when it comes to branding, it's not just about the colors I like. Of course, it can be based on your preference, but maintaining consistency over, in all, across all platforms, maintaining consistency across both online and offline. You are making souvenirs available. How about making it, consistent, ensuring that you are consistent with it, and not just, amassing, what's it called? Amassing different product colors, and before you know it, when we place 3 or 4 of your products that are readily available, and that goes to even the packaging of the products. Maybe the outer packaging of the product, like the bag and the color. We can't really say that there's something consistent about your color and the colors of your packages for your products, then there's something to even question about the brand and the branding itself. And that's why, I mean, one of the things which we all agree with me, I mean, when we're going out for maybe expensive items, for example, let me use a brand like Nike, and you're buying a Nike product, and you are looking at the Nike, and the Nike sign is not really, that's the Nike sign is not really looking like the Nike. Imagine that curved mark is now looking rectangular. Then somehow you yourself, you're like, this cannot be it. So it just shows that there's the place of being, I mean, maintaining consistency when it comes to branding. So when it comes to how do I build my brand, which I think is the major crux of today's conversation, I mean, without taking much time. So how exactly do I build my brand? Building brand just starts with one being, I mean, inspired and being motivated. And that's why anyone and everyone can, regardless of people say things like, are you business oriented? Well, everyone naturally is business oriented. So regardless of the kind of work or engagement and how busy people can get, there's still room, and there's still that within them, that ability to actually have a brand and start up a brand. And what exactly does it take to start up a brand? Is actually to have the product. I bet to say that the best when it comes to brand is what exactly you are making available. What you are making available eventually makes you stand out. Like I said, it's not necessarily something new that you are making available, but you know, your manner of execution and the way you execute your, I mean, your product, carry out your product, and you also push it out there, is exactly what makes you stand out. And that's where, of course, all that we have said in branding comes in. I mean, your brand name, of course, when it comes to brand name, I don't think there's anything that says that the name has to be indigenous or non-indigenous. It's also the person's preference. But when it comes to brand names, it has to be something that, even if you are using something indigenous, as a Yoruba person that I am, and I want to have a brand with my name, with my, of course, something indigenous, I should still not make that brand name something difficult to pronounce. The moment it is difficult to pronounce, that in itself gives and creates a barrier. It should not be too worded, then it should not be difficult to pronounce, which means that it should be easily relatable. More like, say, 3, 4, 5 syllable words. That's if it's going to be in 2 different words. But if a singular word, 2 syllables, 3 syllables, 4 syllables, but something that is already making, imagine a particular company that you had to execute a project for. They were speaking about, it's actually not a Nigerian company anyway, and they were speaking about how there are other competitors who had the same name. Apparently they got into the business before, sorry, the competitors got into the business before them. So they got into the business maintaining the same name as the competitor. So a lot of people now walk into their store with the mind and the mindset that they were walking into the stores of the competitors, and eventually they don't get to patronize them, seeing that they are not the competitors that they felt they knew. And they now have to do something right at the signpost, the big board in front. So they wrote the name of the company there, because the company was already registered, and they had done a lot of work on the brand name for quite a number of, it's been months anyway. So they had to put it there. They put the name of the company. They now wrote in brackets, making it bold, that not this company. I'm not sure you got that, but they from the signboard, they had to write it there that this is the company, this is what they are into, but they are not this company that is their major competitor. And which means that they just had to define things. Of course, it cost them a lot, and I think it's still, at this point in time, they are still really feeling it, because it takes a whole lot, having started a brand and spending so much, only to discover that you still cannot outrank your major competitor. And that's actually what it is. So for someone that is starting a brand, the product might not really be the issue. Is how you carry it out, how you execute it. You might have strategies that your competitors don't have. You can even leverage on your techniques, or the techniques of or the strategies of your competitors. You leverage on it, know about it, and of course, I'm delving, of course, into a bit of marketing already, and that's exactly what happens when one starts out a brand. So, starting a brand just means I'm ready to pour myself into it, in terms of when it comes to ideas, and also when it comes to being consistent. Because I bet to say that there's no brand that starts out and just a month after, 2 months after, 3 months after, the brand is everywhere. No. Even the one that spends so much will still not be everywhere. Even the one that spends so much, I'm saying just too much, and seems to have appeared or been seen by everyone, will still take a number of months, I'm saying solid months, to now get the eventual patronage that they so desire. So of course, like every business owner, you will like when the traction is about, oh, I'm getting traction, people are actually asking about my business, people are asking about my products. But the question we now want to also ask eventually, after a period of generating many leads, is how many of them have I been able to convert as customers? And that's I call that the flip side of running, ads. So people believe that when I start a brand, let me just run campaigns, let me just run ads across different platforms: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on YouTube. Let me just run Google ads. So far people are seeing it, people will relate. But I bet to say that people can only relate, because what sells now is not ads. People will only relate with brands that they feel they trust in. They have their trust, and brands that they think they can trust well enough. And the trust will also come over time, which means that we have people that will give reviews, we have customers, we have satisfied customers, let me put it that way, that will actually give positive reviews. And people, and of course, the way the search engine also works, because there's nothing you can talk about brand today except you are serving a local, a local station. Even if you're serving a local station, except your product is mainly for people who are outrightly offline, and your target audience are not anyway online. That's when you can begin to talk about, not caring about what your visibility is like online. So which means that when I start a brand, or in starting a brand, I must also begin to consider my online visibility. I'm beginning to ask, I know I can't reach everyone, and everyone is not my target audience. And that's one thing brand owners always need to know. Every personal brand owners, you start outfits, you can't delve into all. You started out as a thrift, let me call it a thrift store, as you have many in that line today. Then all of a sudden, you try to bring in. Of course, there are people who, I know of one person that, because she's juggling between the two now, but then she said it's a whole lot to want to delve into the two lines of business fully, where you are running thrift fully, and you are running, ready-made wares direct, new ready-made wares you are running. She said it's actually, except one is going to, of course, diversify, and you're going to be having departments, and of course that requires a lot of structure to pull. And since we're talking about personal brands, of course we're not talking about personal brands that cannot scale. Personal brands can equally scale, but we're talking about personal brands that one can manage, and one can, of course, start and see to it that it grows, of course, with time. But when it comes to personal brand, you must never think that everyone is your target audience. Everyone cannot. There's nobody that serves everybody. That's why companies part time, businesses part time, they try to have departments, they try to have different branches where they focus on other, products, other services, and other. In fact, some even have to partner at different points with companies that seem to be so vast in those new areas that they think that there's a whole lot of prospects when it comes to sales of their product and marketing of their products. So they get to do all of that. And so majorly I will talk about marketing. Host, say permit me, how many more minutes do you have, so while I just quickly round up on marketing? And if you have questions, you can actually put the questions, practical questions anyway. You can
You have about
ask the question with
five 5 minutes.
5 minutes. All right.
Yes, you
Thank
have
you.
about 5 minutes to go.
Yes, so basically, marketing. Our advice, and I say this. Like I said, I have quite a not too much, but I have a number of experience when it comes to working and dealing with startups, where startups actually think that it's just. Yes, we can type the question, and yes, you can type the question. You can also ask the questions. There will be time for that. Oh, please, once it's, let me know as soon as time is up so that we can give room for questions before. Yes, I was talking about marketing. So, as a startup founder, the brand owner, you just started. You're thinking it's something small. Well, everyone starts small. Everyone starts small. So your business idea is not too small. It might look that way because of the resources available, because of the reach that you think you have, because of the audience, and you might even start out selling to only known, maybe relatives, friends, colleagues, and just well wishers who don't just want to see your business go down the drain. Those are the people that start out patronizing you, but you're actually building a lot that way. So when it comes to marketing, don't start out trying to push or a better part of your fund into marketing. When I say marketing, I mean you're trying to run ads now. No, you don't have to. The first thing is ensure that you have a structure that works. And when I say a structure that works, ensure that your product is without, you don't have a questionable product. What we call in the tech in the tech startup space, what we call the MVP. That's the minimum viable product. That is the product in itself has a tendency to actually thrive. The product can do well. You also have the what we call the MLP, which is the minimum lovable product, which means that now that the product is viable, we are not saying the product is now also lovable. Lovable means that people are actually receiving and accepting, but that does not still mean that your business or your brand or your product is now known to men or to people in their numbers. No. So you've seen people actually start up with very good products, and I know of number of startups. Some have even received grants, some have received, they got investment from companies and all that, and they are very wonderful products. I'm saying very wonderful products that till today we've not seen people actually evolve in those particular aspects of products or those kind of products anymore, but they just were not found. And as it is with every founder, you don't keep putting and pushing money in a product, and eventually you're not getting the visibility as you so desire. Especially when you now have people invest in your company, you have people invest in your brand, you have people who have actually also put and given their resources just to see to it that, and over time it's just not seen and recognized by people that need them. Because the truth is, some of us can agree with me, there are times that you ought to have what we call, maybe you have a kind of task at work, you were to listen to a particular audio at work and have it transcribed to be presented in a meeting. Then you don't know that there's a particular product. When I use product now, product, of course, speaking as a product marketer, product eventually, for business itself, service. So that's actually what I mean by product. Yes, there's a product out there by someone that, I mean, by people, not even one person that can help you do that successfully. But because you don't know, and even some of those people, when you search for them online, you don't get to find them. That's because they are not known, they are not visible. And because they are not visible, it shows that all that they have when it comes to their expertise, when it comes to their, I mean, level of intelligence and the high problem solving skills, none will be seen by the prospects and the prospective clients. And eventually they go in, they pack up, they just give up. And I mean, if someone enters the game newly and the person is able to leverage that marketing barrier, the person breaks into the market, and we all begin to say that this person did a whole lot. But that's exactly what. And so, how do I start out? The moment you have a brand, you must have media platforms, minimum of 2, 3 social media platforms, minimum of 2, 3, where you are actually sharing content. And let me say this: when you are sharing content on the media space, ensure to have written content as well. Ensure to have written content, which means that what we call the caption. I mean, you have it such that it answers a. I'll give an instance. I mentioned the other time when someone wants to search for, okay, restaurants around me. Think like your customer. If you were to purchase your own product, how would you have searched for that kind of product? That should actually inform the way you also come about and go about your products. I mean, when it comes to your product, your content, the content of your media pages, you just have to sit and position yourself as your own customer. And of course, that also means that you have to relate to people, ask people, talk to people, and confirm how they would have actually related with this kind of product, given that they probably did not know you or knew that you were you were the owner of such a brand. How would they have sought for it? How would they have maybe searched for it? Just so something like that. So I mean, you can do that organically. So I believe that can be done organically actually. Ensure that across all platforms, maintain consistency, and for every, ensure that you retain originality in all that you do. Don't just always have to copy and post an image, a video. Of course, all of that also get to work in the long run, but always have originality across all your media pages. That's in building and maintaining a brand and its marketing strategies. Yes, host.
Thank you. Um,
I think I've said a
Thank
lot.
you, sir. That was a wonderful session we've had, and now it's time for questions. So we just, because of our time, we just get 2, 3 questions, and other can come to maybe mail or something. So we can ask our question now. But before we ask questions, so I'm asking a question for someone now. So this person is saying that it seems everyone is doing what I actually want to do. Everybody, like whatever thing I'm thinking of in my head, everybody, I'm seeing people doing it already. Okay, like you said there is no new idea anyway. Like 90% of things that, 95%, as you said, things that are things people are already doing it actually. So, and you said that the uniqueness can only be in the execution, where we try to unique one's execution when it comes to delivering products now. So I want to ask for someone now. It says, like, it seems everybody is already doing what I'm doing. So what do I do um to start? What do I do to start? Seems I'm having this block on people already doing what I want to do. And how can I come about, since the issue now is on execution, so how do I come about executing my own unique way of, of my own brand?
All right. Okay. I'll actually give this very example. I mean, I actually have I'm I'm actually the co-founder of the SEO Gidi, where we actually help provide marketing solutions for startups in Africa and course, in Nigeria, and even as it is now outside Nigeria. And majorly, there are a lot of people in that market space already. So what exactly did we do to be unique and to stand out? Was that we knew that everyone cannot be our target audience. So the first thing is, despite the fact that there are a lot of people in that market, there are a lot of people in that space already doing exactly what we're doing, they will say that, okay, our focus is just going to be on Africa. Such that if you go online and you search for SEO for startups in Africa, SEO Gidi should pop up first. That's in Google. When you search for SEO SEO for startups in Africa, when you search for that online, SEO Gidi should pop up. That's because we've created a niche. I mean, we met quite a number of people in the space in that particular market space and that particular products and service venture already. But to actually stand out to me, to set what we call the SMART goals, have a specific goal. What exactly? Your goal has to be specific. Specific in the sense that knowing fully well that you are not reaching everyone, then predetermine those you want to reach. Now, like I said, that doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have other people that are reaching those set of people, but you be specific. And of course, in the SMART goals where you have the fact that it is measurable, which means that you want to know and you want to always measure the progress you're making. So your goal has to be measurable. So which means that if, for example, I'm into sales of, for example, everything corporate I looked at everything corporate and I said, what exactly is the challenge? Getting outfits. A lot of people are into sales of outfits. I looked at the challenge in that same sales of wares, and I discovered that actually getting corporate outfits is a major challenge. I can speak of somewhere around where I stay. Within a 15-kilometer walk, I can't get anywhere around me to get a suit. Not anywhere around me. The closest is I'll have to, okay, maybe 15 kilometers might be too, did I say 15 kilometers? I think 10 kilometers. The closest should be around 12 kilometers from where I am, where I can actually get. So which means I know that already there's a gap in that area. Which means that when people want to get corporate wear such as suits, there's nowhere around they get it. So I'm serving a set of people. I'm not serving those that are seeking to buy jeans. A pair of jeans, in fact, just a few meters from, hundreds of meters from my place, he actually gets places to buy that. So how do I stand out? I have to ensure that I create a niche that I'm ready to actually stay with, to see it grow. Like I said, the traction might not be there from the start and from the set go. That is, the fact that you said, oh, you want to reach these people does not mean that in the next 1 month you already have you're getting the tractions already. No, you remain consistent at it, but ensure that you're not trying to test the waters. Oh, let me see this. If this does not work, then I can actually do this. Of course, that can happen with time, but it won't be a total change or total turnaround. It will just be that you are improving even on what you're doing or in what you're doing. So, and of course, the fact that you can always, so like I said, one of the things that also make you stand out is in the aspect of what we call the search engine optimization, which is the SEO, and which is a part of marketing that is very fundamental at this stage. For example, as it is, people hardly visit websites anymore. When I go online and I search for something, we have what we call the AI overview that Google now provides, which means that AI overview, when you ask, oh, what is this? There will be an AI overview, which means I must supply enough content where I'm able to also be quoted by the AI search engine. That is, that would be the AI, what's it called now, knowledge base. What we call the AI knowledge base. AI knowledge base means that in the knowledge base of AI across all the the LLM models, they are still able to provide you as a solution to a particular problem. And that's because you've been able to prove yourself across different media channels and including your websites that you have what you have what it takes to, and that starts from your content that you push out regularly, the reviews that you get from people, the reviews. I know people actually underrate reviews a whole lot. Reviews that, and the reviews I'm talking about is not the WhatsApp kind of reviews. I'm saying reviews that get to stay online, because that's actually what the search engine crawlers do. They get to see positive reviews and they add to the relevance of that particular brand. Yes.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so okay, let's have our questions now. So there's no hand up actually, and in the comment section there's no question. Please let's type our question so that we can round up the session.
All right, so maybe I should just jump up with this. I mean, so when it comes to brand and when it comes to marketing generally, the first thing is, okay, your question is quite lengthy. All right, I think you should ask then. Maybe you should just
Okay, you can just
you can just ask.
unmute and speak.
Okay, good evening, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes. Good evening. Good evening, ma.
Okay,
Can you
all
hear me?
right. Okay, so the question I have, thank you for the privilege, sir, and thank you for everything. So the question I have is about um brand, like, can I call it investment? A bigger brand. You mentioned a bigger brand building another young, like smaller brand. But what if there's
Yes.
someone who comes up to say they want to singularly invest in a business and build it, like build the marketing, build every part of the business, the machines that will be needed and everything. I want to ask how that can work, if you've seen that work before,
Okay,
or how
wait.
that can make
Wait.
sense.
But who is the brand owner? Is it the same big brand that now wants to
No,
have a
no,
new
no,
brand?
no, no. The
Okay, they
brand
want to
owner is
invest.
just a single person. And then
Okay,
there's now like a very big person, influential person, who wants to
okay.
use their own page and influence. And of course, aside that, now give investments in machines, machinery, space, and all of that to the low, like the new brand.
Of course,
So
there's a
I
place of
my
that, and yes, I think
so
okay.
now I want to ask about how that like can work, because in some sense it seems like the small brand will kind of be working for the big person in some sort of way, like the way I process it.
Yes, I mean the moment such an offer comes in, there has to be the legal side of because that's already where you work or you get into a legal agreement as touching the, because the moment there's someone is actually investing his resources and investing his money into the brand, then there has to be, I mean, there has to be a kind of legal agreement as to, because eventually if the company makes it big, then there should be a percentage. I mean, the investor can actually claim certain shares in the company. But to actually avoid, I mean, a lot of mismanagement going forward and a lot of back and forth and a messy situation, is to just go into a legal agreement. But of course, if it's in a case of, one is receiving a, let me use for example, of course I've actually seen the one you just spoke about. I've seen the one that yielded a positive result and the one that also, of course, ended up, I mean, badly, as is bound to happen to any kind of business anyway, where the investor actually loses out, because the moment the the brand or the investment goes south, it means that the person, of course, will not hold the, let me call the brand owner responsible, depending on the kind of, depending on what led to the loss anyway. But if investing in machineries, investing in resources just to help build the brand, is what you're talking about, then there has to be a sort of agreement upon receiving such investment, just to, but such will further help the, of course, will further help the brand. It just means that the brand now has access to more, but that does not take the place, it does not take away the place of building and keep building as a brand, which means that you just have, I mean, that gives that brand owner what we can call, I mean, an upper hand right there. So which means that if what his competitors were using were maybe, let's say, crude implements, they were using it, I mean, they were using the traditional method, and there's now a place of provision of better tools, better resources to handle it, then you should be able to leverage that even in your marketing to make and to reach out to more people, how that there's a better way this is done by better resources and being made available in this particular. So such is welcome, and such is actually a good ground to also thrive on. I mean, but the brand owner must never relent on that. In fact, that should be the reason why he works more on building his brand's identity, but if he's going to receive anything at all, he has to go into legal agreement with the investor, and that's because, I mean, if one gets to put a 95% of the entire, was I muted at the point? So can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so that's exactly what it just explains. It just explains how that. So, but I mean, one should be open to it. It's quite, it's a great opportunity, but not all opportunities like that should be received without that. Let me, because going into the legal acts of such agreements, but it's quite, I mean, it's quite an addition and a plus for a brand owner to have such an investment just to help. And of course, that's even how a number of companies even get to, I mean, a number of companies get to scale. What we call, when people go out to pitch and they get investors, and the investors are requesting for an equity of 20%, 30%, I mean, in their company, and it just shows that every investor too seeks to have something in return. That's why it is always better to have that legal agreement, especially if the person is just someone that maybe a relative, someone known, not someone that is really an investor. But if it's big, it's big, and if it's ready to give a grant, with open arms, you should receive that. At least grant just means that he has freely given it and is not willing to get anything in return. So such is highly welcome, but the person has to keep building. And in fact, such resources also should now be put into marketing, which means that when someone gets such funds, a part of it should also go into marketing. A part of it should go into marketing, because
Okay.
you are going to be
I
having
wanted,
resources now. But the question is, how will people now get to see me?
yeah.
So that's
Okay.
where,
No, but sir,
yes,
sir,
okay.
the person is also providing the offer of building the brand visibility. The person has a grown brand.
Okay, with his own brand.
Like, yeah, the person has a grown brand that can relate with what your own brand is.
Yes, but yes, that might be a bit dicey, but then you just have to ensure, like I said, that a legal agreement has to happen, so as to ensure that you retain your brand ownership of that.
Okay. And I wanted to ask, sir, that is it possible to at any point, like in the legal agreement, can there be a I want to stop at some point? Like,
Yes, yes, there can be such an agreement, and of course, that's if the person is willing to work in with those terms, there can be such an agreement probably upon this particular threshold. When this is received, a total of this is received, maybe equity for this number of years, and all of that is received, then you can, of course, yes, you can also, I mean, there is a place of such agreements in the legal act, yes, legally, where you tell the person, at this point, I no longer your investment. Thank you for your investment. I mean, you can go with all the returns on the investment that you've had now. But of course, all of that will usually the other party is the one that goes against that kind of terms and agreements. But a number of people still do. I mean, it's just agreement. Agreement is agreement. So far, they are not losing either ways. They must have made their returns investments.
All right, thank you.
All
All
right,
right,
thank you,
thank you.
sir.
You're welcome.
Okay, now we are going to be bringing the webinar to an end. So till another time. So don't forget you can reach Mr. Bode Oduwole on the same name, Olabode Oduwole. You can reach him across all social media platform with the same name. Okay, till another time. I mean your host Rio Mishino. So please let's have a great evening and enjoy the rest of our evening. So bye bye.
All right. Thank you very much, host. Thank you, everyone. Let's have a great